I'd like to start by actually telling you what the coalition is. It's a broad-based group of organizations, not necessarily individuals, although there are some. It's mostly organizations who all have an invested interest in IHSS. And I'm going to ask Donna to start off to give you a little bit of history about IHSS. And after we do that, we'll talk about who the current members are. Donna?
Good morning, everyone. Really wonderful to look out and see everybody. I've been, I think, to every SECA conference since you began, and I just feel a gelling in the room this year that's very heartening, and hope it helps us move forward positively to improve IHSS. I like to think, I remember the meeting with Janie where she was talking about possible membership and maybe charging $200 or $300 a year, and I said, Janie, they get $53,000 a year for activity. Charge $2,000, you know. And of course, that got us into a little bit of trouble, but we'll leave that in the past. I'll try not to go too long because we don't have a lot of time, and then a lot of people have things to say about the coalition. I think the main thing I wanted to impress on people is that the coalition is always evolving, and it really was around and started before we called it the IHSS Coalition. In the early days after public authorities or an employer of record was mandated, obviously the kind of stakeholders of consumers and disability advocates and the unions and so on that had been fighting to represent the workers and improve IHSS, realized that we really needed to have some more communication with one another and kind of stay on board, recognizing that there would be points where there were points of difference, but that we would strive for the commonality, the common points where we could come together and move forward advocating, especially at the state level. Because in my experience, and I have been at the San Francisco Public Authority, I worked with the stakeholder group in San Francisco that in the early 90s that got the public authority going. We've been around since 1995, and I've been the executive director formally since 1996. So I've got 14 years of experience plus there around these issues. And I see nodding from Eldon, and Francis was there, and Evan, I've forgotten if you were there, and so on, but a number of people in some of the really early meetings where there were important things to be worked out, where quite, frankly, consumers were afraid that their voice would be lost because of the organizing power of unions and the organizing power of the workers to reach policymakers, and wanted to be sure that the consumer voice wasn't lost, and again, that we found common ground together. So we've been going, and it started off with a relatively small group, and then has grown over the years. And I think with each evolution, I think more trust, more common understanding, and language issues in the sense of how you phrase things to approach policymakers. I feel at the moment, as we have our coalition calls, that a lot of trust has evolved over time where people can be direct with one another, and that helps us move forward with the kind of advocacy at the state level where the dynamics used to be at counties more around IHSS. It's like our employer of record, should that be a public authority? And you kind of work around those issues. And a lot of stuff with IHSS and trying to improve it now has shifted to the state. So the coalition is very crucial as far as what it expresses, and I think policymakers in the Capitol really do look forward to our input. I think at that, I'll kind of leave it at that and say I maybe just name off now some of the members at the moment. We've grown not only to the obvious stakeholders of workers and consumers and unions and public authorities and CAPA and SECA, but all along, periodically, AARP has been involved, even some ACLU people, California senior legislator, OWL, the Gray Panthers. It used to be Protection and Advocacy, now Disability Rights of California, active participant. Obviously, SEIU and its locals and UDW. And so those are some of the folks now, and I participate as an individual member representing our public authority in San Francisco. So I'll leave it at that. But.
Thanks, Donna. In your binder is the current list of the IHSS coalition members, and we're not going to read them off, but you can peruse that, sometime down the line. But it is a varied group, and it's quite extensive, and more people all the time are considering joining. So it really is a fabulous opportunity for all of us. I just wanted to talk a little bit about, well, first of all, does anybody else want to weigh in on history? You want to say anything? No? Okay. Good. Okay. A little bit about process, because I think it's important that we talk about, Donna alluded to it, what the process is, because we have so many stakeholders. We're all coming from different places. We have different constituents. But as Donna said, we are working very well together, and that's been an evolving process. I think the trust level between all of us is really incredible, considering all the different constituents that we have. We do a lot of letters that we are drafted, and that's primarily what we do, and then we also have actions. But the letters are the big thing, and the process with that is that a letter is drafted, and there can be any number of people that actually do the drafting of the letter or whatever we're sending out to the legislators or the media, whoever it might be. And then there's an opt-in, opt-out process where the letters go around to everybody. Everyone has an opportunity to see them, and then the agency, the organization, the individual can either opt in or opt out. Well, usually it's just an opt out. They have to let somebody know that you're going to opt out of the process. So that means, sometimes an organization, simply because of the nature of their philosophy, cannot sign on to that particular document. And that's okay. Nobody has any problem with it, but it is a process, and it's worked very, very well for us. So I think that's important to let everybody know about. The next issue is past strategies, and does anybody want to take that one? Just talk about what we've done in the past.
I'm Frances Gracechild, and I run the Independent Living Center in Sacramento, and have been a member of home care organizing for way before the legislation on employer of record, and learned a lot the very hard way. Before we had computers, right, and we had to snail mail everything, and in some ways things were wonderful then because you had a lot more high touch rather than just hitting the send button. You actually had to call people and hear about how their day was going. So it was a different time, and now we have a lot more immediate power, it feels like. And we have to build relationships. I always say the number one rule of life is relationships are everything. They're probably even better than money in the bank. So it's pick and shovel work. Every time you're sitting next to somebody new, you